0600 hours, Pacific Ocean. The sun bleeds over the eastern horizon, painting the gray steel of the U.S. carrier in muted shades of gold and iron. The massive flight deck hums with controlled industrial chaos. Yellow-shirted directors wave glowing wands, guiding aircraft into position. Green-shirted crews hook heavy steel catapult shuttles to the nose gear of resting fighter jets. Steam curls from the catapult tracks, drifting across the deck like sea mist. The smell of jet fuel hangs heavy and sweet in the salt air. Mechanics wipe grease from their hands. Pilots walk toward their aircraft, helmets tucked under arms, flight suits zipped tight. The ocean stretches out in every direction, a vast, indifferent blue sheet. For a moment, the rhythm is steady, routine, safe. Then the rhythm breaks. Inside the Combat Information Center, a dark room lit only by the glow of blue screens. A single radar operator freezes. A red icon blinks into existence on the primary display. Then another, and another. They move fast, too fast for civilian air traffic. The operator shouts a bearing. The tactical action officer leans forward, eyes narrowing at the digital map. The threat vector confirms hostile intent. A massive formation approaches from the west. The general quarters alarm screams. The sound rips through the steel corridors of the ship. It is a deafening, pulsating wail that shatters the morning calm. On the flight deck, the mood snaps instantly. The slow walk turns into a desperate sprint. Crewmen drop tools and bolt for the catwalks. Pilots abandon their calm strides and rush the ladders to their cockpits. They vault inside. Canopies slam shut with a heavy mechanical thud. Jet engines whine. A high-pitched scream that rapidly deepens into a chest-vibrating roar. Auxiliary power units disengage. The entire deck begins to vibrate. Afterburners ignite on the lead aircraft, spitting blue-orange flame against the blast deflectors. The heat hazes the air, distorting the view of the ocean beyond in a shimmering wave of thermal energy. The air boss in the tower grabs the comms handset. He yells the order to launch the alert fighters immediately. The massive carrier begins a hard turn into the wind, its hull carving a wide, white, foaming scar through the dark water to generate lift. The deck tilts as the ship leans into the maneuver. On the bow, the yellow shirt signals furiously. The lead fighter jet creeps forward. The nose gear locks into the catapult shuttle with a metallic clank. The holdback bar snaps into place. The pilot checks the flaps. He salutes. The shooter on the deck drops to one knee and touches the steel. Steam explodes from the track. The fighter jet hurtles forward. It accelerates from 0 to 160 knots in 2 seconds. The G-force crushes the pilot back into the ejection seat. The tires leave the deck. The aircraft shoots off the bow, dips slightly toward the crashing waves, and then claws for the sky. The engines leave a trail of thunder that shakes the bones of the crew on the deck. The second jet rolls into position. The defense begins. 0605 hours. High altitude, Pacific Ocean. The sky is a blinding cobalt dome. 4 U.S. fighter jets cut through the thin air at 30,000 feet. Sunlight glints off their gray composite skins. Below, the ocean is a wrinkled blue map. The white wakes of the carrier strike group barely visible as tiny scratches on the surface. Vapor trails stream from the wingtips of the formation, dissipating instantly in the slipstream. The formation is tight. Wing overlaps wing. The roar of the engines is a constant, deafening vibration that travels through the airframes and into the pilot's spines. Inside the lead cockpit, the world is a claustrophobic mix of glass and glowing digital displays. The pilot breathes rhythmically, the oxygen regulator clicking with every inhalation. The radar screen sweeps green, then flashes amber. The red symbols multiply. The distance counter drops rapidly. 80 miles. 70 miles. The flight leader snaps the throttle forward. The engine nozzles dilate. Raw fuel dumps into the exhaust stream. The afterburners ignite with a concussive thump. Blue flames spear from the rear of the jets, stretching 20 feet long. The aircraft shudder violently as they punch through the sound barrier. A white vapor cone forms momentarily around the fuselage, then shatters into nothingness. The speed readout climbs. Mach 1.2. Mach 1.4. The external fuel tanks rattle against their pylons. The pilots are pressed deep into their seats, G-suits inflating around their legs to squeeze blood back into their brains. On the sensors, the enemy fighter jets appear as a swarm. They are not waiting. They are accelerating. The closing speed is over 2,000 miles per hour. The digital warning system in the U.S. cockpits begins to chirp. A yellow light flashes on the console. Radar lock detected. The enemy is painting them. The flight leader's voice crackles over the radio. He orders weapons hot. The pilot flips the master arm switch. A red light illuminates. Armed. He selects air-to-air missiles on the display. The weapon bay doors hum, pre-tensioning against the airflow. The chirping in the headset turns into a solid, high-pitched tone. The enemy radar has a hard lock. The formation splits. 2 U.S. jets bank hard right, their wings slicing the air like knives. The other 2 bank left. They pull 5 Gs in the turn. The airframe groans under the stress. Condensation clouds rip over the wings. They are trying to force the enemy to divide their attention. Ahead, black specks appear against the clouds. They grow larger with terrifying speed. The enemy jets are distinct now. Dark, angular silhouettes with jagged edges. Their afterburners burn hot and orange. Smoke trails from their engines stain the pristine sky. The distance closes to visual range. 10 miles. 5 miles. A flash of light erupts from the lead enemy fighter. A smoke trail corkscrews through the air, detaching from the dark silhouette. It accelerates instantly. A missile is in the air. Fox 3, inbound, the radio screams. The U.S. pilot slams the stick to the left. The jet rolls inverted. The horizon flips. The ocean hangs above his head. He yanks the stick back into his gut. The nose pitches down toward the water. The aircraft dives, screaming toward the heavier air below to outrun the threat. The missile tracks. It turns, correcting its course. It hunts the heat. 06 12 hours. The merge. The cockpit warning system screams a continuous high-pitched tone. The digital display flashes red. The enemy missile closes the distance at Mach 3. It creates a smoke trail that scars the blue sky like a zipper. The U.S. pilot jams the throttle to the stop and yanks the control stick hard into his gut. The fighter jet rolls 90 degrees. It plummets toward the ocean's surface. The pilot punches the countermeasures button on the console. Magnesium flares. Shoot from the rear fuselage. They bloom into blinding white fireballs, hotter than the jet engine. The incoming missile sensors confuse. The weapon swerves violently toward the decoy heat. It detonates. The explosion rips the air apart 200 yards behind the U.S. jet. A shockwave slams into the aircraft. The airframe shudders as if hit by a giant hammer. Shrapnel ping-pongs off the titanium skin of the tail. The pilot fights the stick to regain stability. The horizon spins wildly. Suddenly, the enemy fighter flashes past the canopy. The distance closes to 0. The 2 jets pass within 500 feet of each other. The sound is a physical blow, a double sonic boom that cracks the air. The turbulence from the enemy wake hits the U.S. jet, tossing it sideways. The dogfight begins. "Brake right! Brake right!" the wingman yells over the radio. The U.S. pilot slams the stick right. The jet banks violently. The G-suit inflates instantly, crushing the pilot's legs to keep blood in his brain. His vision grays at the edges. He strains his neck, looking over his shoulder. The enemy fighter is turning too. It bleeds speed to tighten the radius. Its nose swings around, gun port searching for a target. The U.S. pilot reverses the turn. He drops the flaps. The jet slows abruptly, forcing the enemy to overshoot. The enemy fighter slides in front. It is a fatal error. The U.S. pilot aligns the heads-up display. The green targeting box snaps onto the enemy exhaust. The tone goes solid. A growl fills the headset. He squeezes the trigger. The air-to-air missile launches from the wing rail. The rocket motor ignites with a blinding flash. It accelerates instantly, leaving a trail of white smoke. It covers the distance in a heartbeat. The missile smashes into the enemy's right engine. The explosion is absolute. It tears the rear of the enemy fighter apart. Flaming metal sprays into the slipstream. The engine turbine disintegrates, sending razor-sharp blades slicing through the fuselage. The enemy jet enters a flat spin, trailing thick black oil smoke. A canopy blows off. The ejection seat rockets upward. A parachute blooms orange against the blue sky. The burning wreckage of the jet tumbles down, smashing into the ocean's surface with a massive splash of white water. 0615 hours, Dogfight sector. The sky is a tangled web of gray smoke trails. The neat formation is gone. The air battle is now a chaotic knife fight in a phone booth. Engines scream from every direction. The air smells of burnt kerosene and cordite. A second enemy fighter jet dives from the sun. It drops onto the tail of the U.S. flight leader. The enemy pilot does not wait for a missile lock. He switches to guns. The enemy nose pulls lead. The cannon muzzle flashes. "Brake left! Brake left!" the wingman screams over the comms. The U.S. flight leader slams the stick over. The jet banks hard, exposing its belly. It is too late. A stream of 30mm tracer rounds tears through the sky. They look like angry red hornets. They bridge the gap in a millisecond. 3 rounds smash into the starboard wing of the U.S. fighter jet. The impact is violent. The rounds punch through the composite skin like it is paper. Aluminum shreds. The force severs the hydraulic lines inside the wing. A cloud of pink hydraulic fluid sprays out, atomizing instantly in the high-speed slipstream. Sparks shower from the torn metal. The cockpit shudders. The stick kicks back against the pilot's hand, vibrating uncontrollably. A master caution light floods the cockpit in red. The flight computer screams a structural integrity warning. The right wing dips. The aircraft wants to roll over and die. The pilot fights the machine. He jams the rudder pedal to the floor. He wrestles the stick opposite the damage. The jet groans. It slides sideways through the air, bleeding speed, shaking violently. Behind him, the enemy fighter lines up for the kill shot. The enemy pilot adjusts his aim. Suddenly, the U.S. wingman drops from above. He cuts across the enemy's flight path. He squeezes the trigger on his own internal cannon. A wall of 20mm tungsten rounds erupts from the U.S. jet. The sound is a buzzsaw rip. Bird! The tracers stitch a line of smoke across the enemy's nose. The enemy fighter yanks up hard to avoid the collision. He breaks off the attack. He climbs vertical, disappearing into the glare of the sun. The damaged U.S. jet levels out. Smoke trails from the right wing. The pilot checks the fuel gauge. It is dropping fast. 0617 hours. Surface Action Group. The ocean surface churns into white foam. The U.S. destroyer cuts through the swell at 30 knots. The gray hull vibrates with the massive torque of the gas turbine engines. Salt spray lashes the bridge windows. Above, the air battle rages. Sonic booms crack like thunderclaps, shaking the radar arrays on the mast. Spent brass casings from the dogfight rain down from the clouds, splashing into the water like steel hail. The crew on the bridge stands braced against the consoles. The Aegis radar panels on the superstructure hum with power. They track a new threat. 2 enemy fighter jets break from the tangle above. They dive. They ignore the U.S. aircraft. They vector straight for the carrier in the center of the formation. They drop low, skimming 50 feet above the waves to hide in the sea clutter. They close the distance at supersonic speed. The destroyer stands directly in their path. The fire control system locks the targets. The tactical officer turns the key. The forward deck of the destroyer erupts. The covers of the vertical launch system blow open. Compressed gas ejects two massive surface-to-air missiles. They hang suspended in the air for a fraction of a second. Then the solid rocket motors ignite. A blinding flash turns the deck white. The roar is deafening. The missiles streak upward, trailing thick pillars of dense white smoke. They accelerate to Mach 4 instantly. They twist in the air, correcting their course with violent, jagged turns. They hunt the incoming jets.
Missile launch.
The enemy fighters spot the smoke trails. They bank hard in opposite directions. They dump clouds of chaff, millions of tiny aluminum fibers meant to blind the radar. The missiles do not bite on the decoy. They track the metal. The first missile intercepts the lead enemy jet. It detonates 10 feet from the cockpit. The warhead shreds the aircraft. The jet disintegrates into a ball of expanding orange fire and black debris. The momentum carries the flaming wreckage forward. It skips across the water surface like a stone, tearing itself apart in a spray of steam and oil. The second enemy jet pulls up hard. It tries to climb above the danger zone. The destroyer's close-in weapon system spins up. The six-barreled rotary cannon whirs. It unleashes a wall of tungsten rounds. The sound is a buzzsaw rip. The tracers create a solid line of lead in the sky. The rounds walk across the belly of the climbing jet. The fuselage rips open. The engine catches fire. The jet stalls, rolls over on its back, and smashes nose first into the sea. 0620 hours. Wave top level. The ocean rushes past at 600 miles per hour. It looks like a gray concrete floor, smeared by speed. The damaged U.S. fighter jet hugs the surface. The altimeter reads 40 feet. Salt spray coats the canopy glass. The right wing vibrates violently, trailing a thick ribbon of black smoke that whips into the sea. The pilot fights the stick with both hands. The aircraft wants to roll over. It wants to die. Behind him, the enemy fighter closes the gap. The enemy pilot smells blood. He pushes his throttle forward. His nose dips low, locking onto the smoking exhaust of the American jet. He ignores the tactical situation. He ignores the fleet ahead. He wants the kill. The U.S. pilot drags the fight into the kill zone. He banks hard toward the line of U.S. destroyers. The gray steel hulls loom like mountains out of the water. The U.S. jet shoots the gap between two ships. The sound of his passage is a deafening shriek that rattles the deck plates of the vessels. The enemy fighter follows. He dives into the channel between the ships. The destroyers react. Defensive sirens wail on the ships. Autocannons swivel. A wall of tracer fire erupts from the decks. Chains of red and yellow light slash across the gap. The air fills with flying lead. The U.S. pilot jerks the stick back. His jet climbs sharply, clearing the superstructure of a frigate by inches. The afterburner scorches the ship's radar mast. The enemy pilot reacts too late. He tries to follow the climb. He pulls back on the stick. The G-force hammers him. But he is deep in the crossfire. A line of 20-millimeter rounds from the frigate's defensive gun walks across the enemy cockpit. The canopy shatters. The rounds turn the pilot and the electronics into pulp. The jet loses all control. It snaps violently to the left. The wingtip catches a heavy ocean swell. The impact is catastrophic. The jet cartwheels across the surface of the water. The fuselage tears into 3 pieces. Fuel tanks rupture. A massive fireball explodes, rolling over the water in a wave of heat and steam. The debris field splashes down, raining burning metal onto the deck of the frigate. The damaged U.S. jet levels out at 2,000 feet. The sky is clear behind him. 0625 hours. Withdrawal sector. The sky is no longer a battlefield. It is a graveyard. Black pillars of smoke rise from the ocean surface, marking the pyres of fallen aircraft. The air is hazy with exhaust and dissipating vapor trails. The screaming of missiles has stopped. The roar of afterburners dies down. The only sound in the cockpit is the steady, rhythmic rasp of the pilot's breathing and the low hum of the engine. Inside the cockpit of the U.S. flight leader, the fuel gauge flashes a persistent amber warning. The digital readout blinks. Bingo fuel. He toggles the radio switch. His voice is hoarse, dry, stripped of adrenaline. He calls for a status check. 2 is green, wincher and missiles dry, the wingman responds. 3 is gone, no shoot seen. A voice cracks over the static. 4 is critical, bleeding hydraulic pressure, right engine flameout. The flight leader looks to his right. The number 4 jet limps through the air. Its starboard engine is dead, the nozzle cold and dark. The wing is shredded, metal skin peeling back in the wind. A trail of white vapor leaks from the fuselage. The aircraft crabs sideways, fighting the asymmetry of single-engine flight. The pilot inside fights the stick with both hands to keep the nose up. On the tactical display, the enemy contacts turn cold. The surviving enemy fighter jets bank hard to the west. They are low on fuel, too. They run for their own carrier. The merge is over. The fight is a draw written in blood. All players, knock it off. Knock it off. Vector home, the strike warfare commander orders from the ship. The U.S. formation initiates a wide, gentle turn back toward the east. They do not accelerate. They conserve every drop of kerosene. They trade altitude for distance, gliding down from 20,000 feet. The carrier appears on the horizon. It looks small, fragile, floating on the vast ocean. But the deck is ready. The recovery crews scramble. Fire trucks roll into position. The crash barricade, a massive nylon net, raises across the landing area. They are preparing for the damaged bird. The flight leader drops his landing hook. It extends with a metallic thud. He lines up on the glide slope. The optical landing system glows amber. Call the ball, the landing signal officer said. Clarion 1-1, ball 3.5, the flight leader replies. He touches down. The tailhook catches the number 3 wire. The deceleration is violent. The harness straps bite into his shoulders. The jet slams to a halt in 2 seconds. The engines spool down. He taxis clear of the landing area. He opens the canopy. The humid, salty air rushes in, smelling of the ocean and hot brakes. He pulls off his helmet. His hair is matted with sweat. His hands tremble as he unbuckles the restraints. He climbs down the ladder to the non-skid deck. Crewmen rush past him. They run toward the stern. The damaged number 4 jet is on final approach. It wobbles. Smoke pours from the fuselage. It is coming in too fast. The pilot cannot slow down without losing lift on the single wing. The deck crew crouches. The LSO screams, "Power! Power!" The jet slams onto the deck. It misses the wires. It bounces. It smashes into the raised barricade net. The nylon webbing wraps around the nose and wings. The jet spins violently, screeching against the steel deck, sparks showering like fireworks. It comes to rest 10 feet from the edge of the ship. Fire crews sprint forward. Foam cannons erupt, burying the smoking wreckage in white chemical slush. The canopy blows. The pilot climbs out, stumbling, falling onto the wet wing. A medic grabs him. They drag him away from the heat. The sun is fully up now. The ocean is bright and calm. The battle is over.